Welcome to the Rise of the Trades podcast, the show dedicated to helping you to build, grow, and scale your trades or construction business. All rise for your host, Craig Wilkinson.
Welcome to this week's coaching episode of the Rise of the Trades podcast, where we help trades and construction business owners to skyrocket leads, explode net profits without having to graft 60 hours a week and becoming that busy fool. In this episode, I'm going to be teaching you the exact strategy that has led to our Trades Freedom Club members generating over £120 million worth of new work by attending our online and in-person networking events. I'm also going to be giving you the step-by-step guide of how I've personally generated £6 million worth of business so you can do the same. And how networking is one of the most powerful forms of personal development that will help you to build a growth mindset and what I call a new circle of influence. But before we go there, I'd like to announce that our priority waiting list is now open for you to join to get exclusive access to our brand new platform and community that we're launching in January 2025. By you adding yourself to our priority waiting list, you will be personally sent an invitation by me to become one of the 100 founding members of our new membership, and therefore will get access to all the business and marketing, coaching, mentoring and support that you need, as well as attending our in-person and live events and getting partner discounts to help you to scale and grow your business. Please consider adding yourself to our waiting list. The link is in the show notes and the description to this episode. Now, let's transition over to this week's coaching episode. It's 2009 and I'm sat in my office and the phone rings. And Richard, he answers the phone and then shouts over to me, "Craig, there's somebody on the phone for you. He's talking about Grapevine magazine." I'm like, "What?" Now, I never used to answer or take phone calls from random strangers, but given the fact that Grapevine magazine had been mentioned, this is one of the magazines, the glossy mags that we used to advertise in, that brought us loads of work in, loads of leads. So I took the call. And the call started off by saying, "My name's Russell, I'm an IFA, and I'd like to invite you to a networking event." And I'm like, "What? What's this got to do with Grapevine?" He's like, "I saw your advert in the Grapevine magazine, and I also advertise in Grapevine magazine, and therefore think that you're open-minded, and I'd like to invite you down to a networking group that meets in Sheffield once a week, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to invite you down because I believe there's lots of new contacts there for you. You'll win lots of new business and you'll meet lots of new contacts." And I'm sat there thinking, what the hell? What's a networking event? What is this? Bearing in mind, this is back in 2009. So I said, "Nah, listen, I'm not interested. Thank you." Anyway, I went home and I said to Sarah, "Look, I've had this strange phone call today from someone saying that he's a member of a networking event. What the hell's a networking event?" Sarah's like, "I don't know. Give him a ring back. You've got nothing to lose. If he says you can win loads of work from it, give him a ring back." And against all my values and beliefs, I gave this Russell a call back and I said, "What is it?" And he explained that a group of business owners meet in the morning and they all pass referrals and they all pass contacts and you win more work. And I'm like, "Listen, half of me's telling me I've got enough mates. I don't need any of this. I've got work coming out my ears." But something deep down were telling me, just go. Just go and experience it, see what it's all about. And if it's a load of nonsense, then you've lost a couple of hours. That's it. So under duress, I went down to this, what they called a networking event. I had no idea what it was. It was at a place called Green's Gym, just off Ecclesall Road in Sheffield. And I pulled up in my Vivaro van. I jumped out. I got my rigger boots on. I got my Snickers work trousers on. I got my embroidered logoed polo shirt that were covered in decorator's coke and plaster dust and all sorts. And I walked through these doors into this gym, and then I met with this guy who said, "Oh, have you come to this networking event?" Yeah. He showed me through these doors, and honestly, I walked through these doors and I was just met with a load of people, right? Most of them wearing suits, drinking teas and coffees with saucers. The mug in my van had not been washed for 3 years, right? They've got saucers. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? What have I come to? And I walked in, I felt uncomfortable, I felt out my league, out my depth. It was just an horrible, horrible feeling. And then we were asked to sit down around this table that was set out like a U shape. So he sits down, and this Russell who's invited me sat next to me. And I had no idea what were happening. And one by one, all of these, let's say, business owners stood up and started talking about the business and saying, look, I need introductions and referrals into these types of people. And then I saw all these, all this work and these slips and these thanks for the business slips being passed around. And I could see all this work being passed. And then as it's coming round to me, Russell kicks me under the table and says, Craig, you've got to stand up and talk about your business. And I'm like, what? What? You never told me this. And then, honestly, the only experience I can put this to is imagine doing a best man speech if you've ever been a best man. It was like that. I went bright red. I started sweating. My heart's pounding. Palms of my hand are all sweaty. And he kicks me under the table. He went, right, you've got to stand up. So I stood up. I managed to get my name out and my company name. And then I just sat back down, embarrassed. And I was like, what the hell have I just done here? I've just made a right prat of myself. What is this? Is this some kind of cult that I've been brought down to? Anyway, it gets to the end of the meeting and I get ushered into these little comfy seats. And these two people who are part of this meeting come and start talking to me about joining this networking group and how it'll benefit me and my business. And I'm just sat there, I'm like shell-shocked. I'm like, what's just happened? And I kid you not, I have absolutely no idea, even to this day, why I did this. But I pulled my checkbook, and yes, we had checkbooks back in 2009. I pulled my checkbook out of the back of my pocket in my Snickers work trowel, all crumpled up. I took a pen and I wrote a check for the membership to join this networking group. And honestly, to this day, I still don't know whether I joined and given the check just to get the fuck out of that room, or whether actually deep down I knew that I needed some form of help. Now, unbeknown to me, that joining that networking group was to change the course of my life forever. And I sincerely mean that, because there'd be no way I'd be in my position now if I'd have not joined that networking event. And I often think, what would have happened, Craig, if I'd not joined the group? Because I weren't in a good place back then. I got all sorts of problems and challenges going off in my life. In all honesty, I weren't in a good place in my own headspace at that time. But I did. I joined. And the reason why I'm saying it changed the course of my life is like this. I generated £6 million worth of referrals from networking, which has massively helped me grow my businesses. The confidence it gave me because of the people and the contacts and the new circle of influence that I were introduced to is priceless. I met my original mentor at these networking groups. The guy or the two people that I sold my construction company to, I met at this networking group. This networking group then led me back in 2012 to setting up, running and growing the UK's largest trades and construction networking events that's now helped our members by generating him £120 million worth of business. I got recognised and was awarded Yorkshire's Businessman of the Year for, at that point, generating £54 million worth of work. And all that's led me now to my journey that I've been on since 2012, which is standing on over 500 stages, helping over 30,000 trades and construction business owners to scale their businesses. And all this came out of me stepping outside my comfort zone and joining a small networking group in Sheffield. Now, I share that experience with you because I'm sure there'll be people listening to this right now that's heard of networking but has never been to, let's say, an event. Or you may well have been to networking and felt exactly like I did, like you're outside your comfort zone and you hated the experience. And there'll be people that, through myself and organically, have joined networking groups that are absolutely flying and benefiting massively from attending. And the point of all this is I believe that every single business owner should be networking. Because if you're just sat in the four walls of your own office, or whether you work from home, or you're just rattling round in your van every day, and you are not meeting new contacts that are opening doors of opportunity for you, you're massively doing yourself and your business so much injustice, because it's not what you know in business, it's who you know in business that opens doors of opportunity. And if you knock on enough doors, some of those doors are going to open. And behind each one of them doors that opens is a massive opportunity to take you to a whole new level. And that's exactly what I want to share with you in the rest of this episode. I want to give you a step-by-step guide to break down networking and give you the exact strategy of how it works, what you need to do, what you don't want to do, all the mistakes that I've made, because you sat on a gold mine, and for some of you, you're not utilising your contacts and your circle of influence that I'm going to teach you about. You're not tapping into that. And I believe that's a massive mistake, particularly in today's day and age, where online networking is at the forefront of what we're doing. Online networking wasn't around back then in 2009, but it is now. So for me, there is no excuses other than a limiting belief of the business owner that they can't or shouldn't be networking. So grab your notepads, grab your pens, and let's get stuck in. So let's start off with, Craig, what actually is networking? Define networking. Because for some of you, you might know exactly what it is. For others, you've heard of it. For others, you've never even heard of it, and you don't really understand what it is. Well, this is how I define and what networking is. We all know that one of the best forms of marketing is the good old-fashioned word of mouth. The word of mouth marketing and the referrals that you get from your word of mouth is a powerful form of marketing. And in many cases, you're already in a strong position to win that job if you've been referred by a past customer or maybe a family member or a friend to somebody that wants your service. And that's because referrals are a form of social proof. They're what I call a trust indicator. In other words, if I'm going to refer somebody to somebody, right, then obviously I must either know, like, and trust them, and I must have some kind of social proof that they can do a decent job for you. Hence the reason why I'm referring them to you. In other words, if your next door neighbour says, hey, Fred, right, I'm looking for a plasterer. You don't know one, do you? You're in the trade. Can you recommend a plasterer to me? Well, if you know a decent plasterer that you trust, you're going to recommend that plasterer to your neighbour. Well, that's what we call networking. Likewise, if you're on a larger commercial job and the project manager's stressed out and he's been let down by a commercial heating company and he's asking around site or in cabins, does anybody know a commercial heating company we've been let down? If you know of one and you refer them to that site or contracts manager, then that's networking. Or if you're in the pub or maybe in the gym or maybe even inside our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community and you see someone asking for, does anybody know an electrician, right? And you know a good one, then what you're going to do? You're going to refer them, or if it's in our Facebook group, you're probably going to tag that electrician into that post. That's networking. So you're already naturally recommending people to other people, and you are being recommended to potential customers or clients by other people. So in essence, you're already networking, but you probably just don't know it. And I sum networking up in one word. And that one word is relationships. Because if you're going to refer anyone to anybody, you've got to have got some form of relationship with that person. I mean, come on, you're never just going to refer or recommend a random stranger or a random business that you've never used or you don't trust, have you? So networking boils down to building professional relationships. Now think about it. The more people that you can build up relationships with, the more chance that you've got of getting referred. You've got more chance of people giving you that word of mouth referral. So, if you build relationships with, let's say, 30 other people or 30 other business owners, then you've got 30 people that can refer you word of mouth to their contacts. However, what would happen if you built relationships with 300 people? You've now got 300 people referring you and your business to other people. So the more people that get to know you, know your business, get to like you, get to trust your business, the more people out there that know all this, the more eyes and ears you've got out there listening and watching for people that actually need your product or service. So what I want you to start considering as part of your, let's say, attract and your brand awareness strategy is how can you get 300, 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 people to get to know, like and trust you? Because if you did this, you would explode the amount of referrals and the amount of leads coming into your business just from word of mouth alone. And it's by understanding this strategy of how we've brought tradesmen and women together in all our different communities and all the different ways in which we do it that's helped them to get to build relationships with each other and start referring each other to other people. And that's how we've generated them over £120 million worth of new business. And I mean, come on, how much would your business grow, or what positive impact would a slice of that £120 million worth of work have on your business? Well, that's what I'm going to be teaching you throughout the rest of this episode. Now, most people think that networking is all about referrals and winning more work. And to a certain extent, yes, it is. That's what draws people in. That's what gets people to join networking groups, whether they're free groups or paid groups. It's the pull of the lead generation that brings people in. However, there are so much more benefits to networking. It's like one of them onions where the outside layer is the work that you win, but then when you peel that layer off, there's another layer of benefits, and when you peel that layer off, there's another layer of benefits. And it's all these benefits that I want to share with you inside this episode. And it's for these reasons why I say I believe that all business owners should be prioritising networking as a form of marketing strategy, but also on top of that, they should be prioritising networking as a form of personal development. So let's start off the next chapter by exploring what are all these benefits then, Craig, you're telling me about my business and my personal development. What are they? Well, let's get stuck in. So what are the benefits to you and your business by you joining and getting involved with networking? Well, as a professional and experienced networker of over 15 years, I can tell you that there are 3 huge benefits to networking. So let's dissect these down and focus on each one. Huge benefit number 1 is to your business. Your business is going to massively benefit by you getting involved in networking. And I break this down into 8 key areas. So let's look at and explore each one of these areas. Area number 1 is what we've just been talking about, referrals. Because what you're going to do is you're going to be introduced to new business contacts that, let's face it, if they're giving up their valuable time to good networking, they've got the right mindset. So these just aren't any time wasting people. These are generally people that have got the same mindset as what you have in your business. And imagine if you're networking with all different trades, the amount of benefits that there are to that. One of them we've already established, and that's the amount of leads or referrals that somebody's going to pass to you and your business because they've got to know you, they've got to like you, they've got to trust you, and they know this person is looking for your services. Or they know that this company is looking to bring in a commercial decorating business, and that's what you do, right? So it's the introduction to the new contacts that's going to generate you more referrals. Area number 2 is what I call strategic partners. Write that down, strategic partners. And what I mean by a strategic partner is you're going to meet non-competing businesses but have got the same target market as what you're after. Let me explain. As a building contractor attending networking events, a great strategic partner for me, somebody who's not going to compete for me on business, so in other words, not another builder, but someone who's got the same target market as me, would have been architects or structural engineers. And if I could meet new architects at these events and build up a relationship with an architect, then the architect then could start to feed me some of their clients that want prices for loft conversions or extensions. And what did I do? I went and built loads of strategic partnerships with people like architects and structural engineers. And then all of a sudden, when we built that relationship and they got to know, like, and trust me, and they knew that I did a good job, every other job that they got in, they would refer through to us. So now we're generating leads and referrals. Why? Because we've built up strategic partners. Area number 3. You will find new skilled labour by attending networking events. In other words, I went there as a building contractor, but because when I first started networking, I met a plumber, and then I met an architect, and then I met a joiner, then I met a kitchen fitter, then I met an electrician. And all of a sudden, I'm like, as my business is starting to grow with these referrals, I need more labour. But I don't just want to rely on any Tom, Dick and Harry. I want someone that's trustworthy, reliable and honest. And again, by these sparkies and these plumbers and these decorators and this kitchen fitter, by all these different trades going to these networking events, I'm of the opinion, hang on a minute, they're like me. They've got the right mindset. I want to work with them. So all of a sudden, I started using networking to find more labour as my business started to grow. Area number 4. I got introduced to new suppliers. And not just the normal suppliers that I used to use and the big national builders and timber merchants. I started getting introduced to other people. Doors of opportunity started to open. I'd speak to architects, oh, have you thought of doing this and this? Oh no, that's a great idea, but I won't know who to speak to. Let me introduce you to so-and-so, this supplier. So I started going to things like meet the buyer events, where I could meet the buyer, meet the supplier. I started bringing in new products into my business that improved the service that we could offer. I started opening new accounts with new wholesalers and merchants, and they started giving me better prices. Why? Because I built up a good relationship with them. I started getting on tender lists and opportunities to tender for work and some commercial work that I'd never have the opportunity to do if I'd have not started to go networking. Area number 5, what I call partners. So I went down there to generate more leads, right? But in doing so, I started attending events that weren't just trade specific. And I met a marketing company. And years ago, I started using the marketing company who helped me started to generate more leads from my website. I met my accountant down there, and I changed accountants to a better accountant. I met a virtual assistant, and at the point where I got too much work coming in for just Richard to answer the phones and do admin. I needed someone else, but not someone full-time, so I took a VA on that I met networking. There were a sign writing design company who I met, who did all our scaffolding banners and all our A-boards and did all sign writing on our vans. I started meeting new partners, and those partners in turn started to help me structure and grow and take my business to a whole new level. Area number 6, the knowledge. The knowledge. With all these people sharing all these different strategies and all these different things and best practice of how their businesses were working and running and what were working well, all of a sudden I started learning new marketing strategies that I'd never even heard of, and I would have never have heard of them if I'd have not gone networking. I started to learn about all this new software and automations and pipelines and automated emails that I would have never have heard of if I'd have not gone networking. I started to listen to all these new trends, and there was this thing called LinkedIn that had started, and I got onto LinkedIn. None of this knowledge I would have got if I'd have just been rattling round in my van all day and not networking with other positive people. Area number 7 is your brand awareness for your business. And as you know, one of the strategies that I teach on my inner circle is all about your brand awareness. How can we get more people to know that your business exists? What do we need to do? What strategies do we need to put in place to tell the world that you are here and you exist? Because many of you're not doing enough brand awareness marketing, and you might be the best trade on the planet in your area at what you do, but not enough people know you exist. Well, networking is an amazing opportunity to get your brand awareness out there, not just for your business, but your personal brand as well for you, because you're now being introduced to a room or a group or a membership full of new people. So your brand is getting out there quicker than you would ever do before if you were just sat in the four walls of your office working every day, or just rattling around in your van every day. And area number 8 is what I'd realised I'd done here is I'd built a sales team. Write that down, built a sales team. Because think about what I've already shared in an earlier chapter on this episode. The more people that you can get to know about your business, they are listening, not focusing every minute of every day. But if you're a plumber, as an example, and they're out there networking, or a neighbour, or they're at the match and the mate says, oh, you don't know a plumber, do you? Bang. You're straight at the forefront of their mind. So if you think about it, if you could be introduced to 500 people, and over the course of, let's say, 12 months, 500 people get to know about your business, you've technically now educated 500 people that act as a sales team that are out there listening for referrals for you. Because that's how networking works. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. If you're listening out for me, I'm going to listen out for you and repay the favour. So all of a sudden, I'd built up this sales team that were generating me leads and referrals every week without me even realising I'd done it. So they're my main 8 benefits to your business on you getting involved with networking. Huge benefit number 2 is the benefits to you personally. And this is something that is massive overlooked when it comes to networking. Because yes, as we've already explored, most people join networking groups because they want to generate more leads. And that's exactly, I suppose, why I initially joined. But actually, underneath it all, when you peel that first layer of that onion off, there's so much more to learn and discover from networking. And that all comes down to personal development. When I first started networking, as I've already said, I wasn't in a good place. You know, my business were controlling me. I'd made all them classic mistakes I'm teaching you to not make. I'd made them all. So I were under pressure. I got cash flow problems. I were robbing Peter to pay Paul. I were working stupid hours. I were doing everything myself in my business. I'd not built the correct team, so I were having mistakes on jobs. Come on, you know how it happens. You know how it works. So when I joined networking, I got a closed, fixed mindset. But I didn't even know about personal development back then. I never even heard of mindset and all this lot. I'd never heard of it. So by me getting involved in networking, I went from literally within 3 months of networking, I went from thinking, I don't want to be networking with what I used to call suits, right? People in shirts and ties. They don't know what a real job is. They don't know what real graft is. All these web designers and all these accountants and people like that. They're just suits. They ain't got a clue. That were my mindset. So I went within 3 months from rocking up looking like literally, I don't want to say this, but literally like a gypsy. Rigger boots, Snickers work trowel, polo shirt covered in crap. I went rocking up in the morning looking like that because that's all I'd ever known. But 3 months later, my mindset had started to shift, and I started to realise that actually these people, for the first time ever, I felt like these people actually genuinely wanted to help me in my business, and all I'd ever known for years was just me struggling along in my business, on this hamster wheel, on this rat race, doing the same thing day in, day out, just me on my own with all this pressure on me. Then all of a sudden, all these people are like, they're just like me. Even though John wears a suit and is a solicitor, he's still got the same challenges in his business as I got in mine. It's just a different service and a different client base that he serves. They were no different to me. I thought these were all like multimillionaires, high flyers and all that, and they weren't. They were just normal people. But what I really pulled off was the support network that we had, where we did genuinely want to help and support each other in our businesses. And I'd never had that ever before. I'd struggled along, felt like a prisoner in my own business. And then all of a sudden, I got this network around me where I could talk to them, where they understood the challenges that I were going through, where they were saying to me, well, Craig, why don't you go away and try this, this and this? And I'm like, why hadn't I thought of that? That's amazing. So instead of rocking up, looking like a scruffy tradesman, getting out of his Vivaro van and walking into this gym where we had our meetings, within 3 months, I'd smart myself up. I bought my first pair of black shoes. I bought my first pair of trousers. I bought a white long sleeve collared shirt that I had embroidered with my logo on. And all of a sudden, I'm like smartening myself up, and I'm starting to feel so much better about myself. And that's because I got this new network that I knew understood me, and I knew that I could talk to them and they give me positive help and advice. And all this lot started to make a shift on my mindset on who I became. And then I met my first mentor networking, and he introduced me to the 3 books that I tell everybody to get, which is The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And he said, Craig, go away and get them books, they'll help you. And I'm like, what you don't understand is I'm dyslexic, right? I've never read a book in my life, and I was 36 years old back then. Well, I never read a book in my life, but I read the books. Took me 6 months, and at the end of that 6 months, the penny finally dropped, and I realised that I'd been the biggest obstacle and the biggest hurdle in my business and in my life all along. But none of this I would have discovered if I'd have not started hanging around with new people, with positive people that all wanted to help and support each other. And when I look back, for them first few months, I really struggled, sort of like just getting out of my seat and standing up in front of 20 people where they were listening to me while I did my what we call an elevator pitch. I really struggled with that, but I had to step outside my comfort zone, and that's what business is. It's about stepping outside your comfort zone, because while ever you're sat in your own comfort zone with that little comfort blanket over your shoulders, you're not growing. The magic happens for you and your business when you're prepared to step out of that comfort zone and do things that make you feel uncomfortable, but eventually it just becomes the norm. And then we move to a whole new level. So I went from struggling to stand up and just talk to 20 people, which I'm sure many of you listening to this right now will go, flipping heck, Craig, I can't do that. Well, neither could I. Neither could anyone who started networking. But we push ourselves outside of that comfort zone and into what I call that fear zone. And then when we get through the fear zone, we're into the growth zone. But going from standing up in 20 people trembling to now me stood on stages speaking to thousands and thousands of people that have all got their eyes on me on a stage, and I don't get nervous at all. But none of that I'd have never got there if I'd have not started standing up in front of 20 people. It pushed me outside my comfort zone. It pushed me into the fear zone. And on the other side of the fear zone is the growth zone. Listen, running your business can sometimes feel like the toughest job in the world, and it's a lonely place. Sometimes your family and your friends don't understand what you go through as a business owner because you have different pressures, you have different feelings, you have different things to deal with every day that nobody fully understands, only you. So when you start surrounding yourself with other people that have got similar challenges and similar obstacles to overcome, you can overcome them challenges so much quicker if you're involved with a group. And this group, write this down because you'll hear me talking about this all the time. This group is what I call my circle of influence. Write it down, circle of influence. And when you can put yourself into a new circle of influence that's going to help you lift you higher, because that's what we do. Yes, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. And yes, you might be the new person stepping into this circle of influence, so it's all new to you. And you might look at it and go, well, everybody else knows what they're doing, but I don't. But that's fine. That's the fear zone that we've got to overcome. But let me tell you now, the benefits to you being involved in a circle of influence that's going to help you get to that next level. And I believe there's 8 benefits to being involved in a circle of influence. Write these 8 benefits down. Number 1 is just to belong to something. So you're no longer alone in your business. Just belonging to that group and having that support network around you is absolutely priceless. Now, many of you listening to this now, you will belong to a circle of influence already. You belong to our Trades Freedom Club. Maybe it's just you listen to this free podcast and you're in our free Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and you're getting some knowledge and help and support. And this is opening your eyes up to how we can do business. That's brilliant. Maybe you're part of my inner circle and you're in my inner circle coaching program. And that's another circle of influence. But either way, you can't be in the same circle forever because you're not growing. You need to start moving up the ladder of circle of influence. So number 1 is belonging to something. Number 2 is being surrounded by positive people. Because let's face it, there's lots of negative people out there and there's lots of people that want to just see you fail. And I've had them. I've had my fair share of trolls. I've had my fair share of, let's say, mates who on the surface and to your face, they tell you that you want to succeed. But in all honesty, behind the scenes, they're just hoping and praying that you fail. That you fail so they can say, I told you so. I told you couldn't do it. And why do they do that? Because they have to make themselves feel better about their shitty situation they're in because they've not got it in them to do what you're doing. And they want to see you fail. We need to get rid of all those negative influences and all them negative people and situations in our business and life. And we need to surround ourselves with a positive circle of influence. And they're the ones that are going to help lift you higher. They're the ones that have got your back. And that's what the Trades Freedom Club is all about. Number 3, the help and the support that you will get from people within your circle of influence. And again, let's just take our Free Trades Freedom Club Facebook group. The amount of help and the amount of support inside that group is immense. And there's relationships being built up left, right and centre. There's people asking for help and support and ideas and what do I do with this and asking for advice. But they're getting advice from people that want to genuinely help and support them. They're not getting advice from people that are having a pop at them and slagging them off for trying to achieve more success in the business and life, are they? And let's face it, once you're in our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and you belong to our positive circle of influence, you know that we don't judge you. You go into some other Facebook groups, as an example, and try and network and ask for advice or show your work in them groups, and you get absolutely ripped to shreds. They slag you off, you get threatened, your work gets slagged off. Where's the benefit in that? There is none. Number 4. The motivation and the inspiration to help you keep going. Again, just look at our Trades Freedom Club free Facebook group. The amount of posts that go in there of people saying, I want verge of quitting. But by not just listening to me, this is not about me, this is about our community. By listening to people like Steve Thompson, as an example, the boiler doctor, who's always putting posts in there. He's been on my podcast and now he shared his journey from being a prescription drug addict in his plumbing business and how he's helping inspiring other people. You've got people like Mark Wooler that I've interviewed on my podcast, plumbing and heating engineer who was struggling in his business. Now he's making more profit than he's ever made before. He's gone into heat pumps. He's now one of the Heat Geeks presenters. He's doing incredibly well. He's inspiring so many people. So we get motivated by seeing other people's success and journey. And I want to be part of that. And you want to be part of that. And we can take inspiration from each other to help push each other on, especially when times get tough and we're not quite feeling it. We need somebody to pick us up. And that's what a circle of influence does. Number 5, the education and the new knowledge and the new learnings that you get from being in a circle of influence is incredible, because everybody's sharing knowledge. Everybody's saying, oh, I'm doing this way. How are you generating leads then? Well, I'm doing it like this. Well, how do you trigger all them automated emails and texts? Well, I'm using this software. Well, who answers your phones? Because the VA I'm using is missing phone calls. Well, I use this company. Who's your architect? Because who's my accountant? Who's your accountant? Because my accountant's crap. They don't help me increase profits or save me money on tax. Oh, you need to speak to this person. The knowledge inside these circles is priceless. Number 6, accountability. Accountability is massive when it comes to you achieving your goals. So by being in a group that's going to help hold you accountable for whatever plans or goals you're setting yourself is where we need to be. My inner circle has a massive accountability to it. Every day, they've got to check in on our WhatsApp group. We're posting things every day inside our inner circle accountability WhatsApp groups. Every 2 weeks, 2 weeks after our full day's coaching session, they've got to jump back onto Zoom with me and we have a 2-hour accountability session where they've got to show us, and not just me, they've got to show their fellow inner circle members what they're doing, what have they been working on. And if they don't do it, they're not only letting themselves down, they're letting me down, and they're letting the fellow inner circle members down. They're letting the group down. They're letting the circle of influence down. So by having accountability and getting maybe an accountability partner, someone within the group who can hold you accountable for you achieving your goals, and likewise you hold them accountable for achieving their goals, is massive. Number 7, mental health and well-being. And again, being honest, going back to where I used to be, being that busy full joiner, I really suffered from mental health, really suffered. And mental health weren't a thing back then, so nobody knew about it, nobody spoke about it. It was just, listen, you got a problem, you got shit to deal with, you had to get your head down and deal with that shit. But in today's day and age, we now know how important mental health is. And yes, sometimes you're flying and things are going according to plan. But sometimes business and life have got curveballs that they want to throw at you that's going to knock you off course. And when it knocks you off course, you don't want to be left on your own, having to deal with that stress or having to deal with that situation on your own. You need a circle of influence around you that you can go and talk to in confidence about the challenges you've got, and let them other people help you to overcome them. And sometimes just having someone to talk to and getting things off your chest is like a blessing in disguise in itself. And I often say to my inner circle members, you know that you've got me on tap. I'm not just here for you as a business and marketing coach. I'm here as a friend. And anytime you need me, right, drop me a message. We can jump onto Zoom, jump onto a phone call every week, seriously. Every week I'm on a phone call or a Zoom with one of my inner circle members because something's happened in the business or the personal lives and they're suffering a bit. And we're there to help and support each other. And that's what it's all about. Number 8, friendship. Friendship. Now, I know that many of you will have got mates already and you'll have got, people that you've been mates with for years. I get that. But sometimes some of your good friends aren't business owners, particularly in the trades. And therefore, you need a nucleus of friends that you can speak to that understand what you're going through and you've got mutual things in common that you can talk about. Now listen, when I started networking back in 2009, I got enough mates. I got enough friends. I didn't need any more friends. But over the course of all these years of me networking, I've made hundreds, if not thousands, of people that I consider to be friends. All my inner circle members that I've ever coached, I say to them at the end of the program, I'm not just your coach, I'm your mate, I'm your friend, I am here for you. And, going back to networking, when I first started networking, I met 3 people, and these 3 people I consider to be friends. And these 3 people were with me on day 1 of my journey back in 2012, and they are still with me today. They're still part of the Trades Freedom Club. They're still members. They're still been on my inner circle. They still support me, and you'll know these people. So let me just name drop 3 people that I want to give a shout out to because these people have always been there for me. Number 1, Andy Cam. Cozy Warm Plumbing and Heating. You'll probably know Andy as a social media influencer with I Love Plumbing. Andy Cam's had my back from day 1 and he's one of my mates now and we'll do anything for each other. Russ Whittaker. Whittaker Painter and Decorating. Russ has been with me since day 1. He helped me set my first event up back in 2012. Russ were round at our house, literally, a couple of months ago, decorating our house. All these years later. Dean Marsden. Many of you'll know him. Dino for short is his tagline. Dean was one of the people that helped me take my events from Sheffield up into Leeds, and we expanded into Leeds all them years ago. And Dino's still with me. So what I'm saying is, we might not want any more friends, but naturally, we pick up new friends along this journey. Why? Because we're networking in a circle of influence that have got the same challenges, same problems. They're in the same trade as us. We've got things in common. We can talk about the positives. We can talk about the negatives. And we know deep down they'll always have us back. Now, there's hundreds of other people I could give a shout out to. The hundreds of people that help me at my events team, which are all members that give up the time for free. There's so many people. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone, including all my inner circle members, including the thousands of people that we've got in our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community that I've never really met before. We've never had a conversation before, but I know they're there. And I'm pretty sure that the value that I give out, I'm pretty sure that if I needed anything and I went to any one of you, you'd probably answer the phone to me. Why? Because we're building up a relationship. And that's what the Trades Freedom Club is all about. How can we help as many people as we can in our circle of influence to achieve their goals in the business and in the life. Now, I said there were 3 huge benefits to networking. Well, this is benefit number 3. And I call it the benefit to other people. The benefit to others. Because if you go into networking like I started at years ago, which is all about me, whether that's a free group that you belong to, a free membership, or whether that's a paid membership group that you belong to. When I started networking, I thought it were all about me. I'm giving up my time to come to this event, so I want to benefit the most out of that time. I'm paying my membership to belong to this organisation or this organisation or this group. So therefore, because I'm paying my membership, I want to rinse and milk this group for everything I can. Because remember, back then, I had a fixed, closed, negative mindset. So I thought it were all about me. How wrong were I? It wasn't until somebody pulled me to one side at my networking group and said, Craig, you know, just a little tip for you. And this is what I mean about a circle of influence looking out for you and watching your back, right? Can I just have a quick chat with you? Yeah, of course you can. And he said, you're going about this networking all wrong. You're doing it all about you. When in actual fact, you should be doing it about us. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I can see that what you're doing, you know, you're handing leaflets out to everyone. You're walking around giving everybody business cards. You know, people can see it's all about you. You're not going to get very far in networking, and you're not going to get many referrals, and you're not going to get what you want to get out of your membership if you keep going round making it all about you. Let me give you a suggestion. Why don't you make it about everybody else and you come last? And I'm like, what? What do you mean, me come last? I don't give up my time and pay all this money to be a member of this organisation, to be back of the queue. And he's like, no. This is what I mean. The mindset's wrong, Craig. If you come into networking thinking, how many people can I help before I help myself? You'll get 10 times as much business. You'll get 10 times as much help and support back than you will do going into it thinking it's all about you. Because the more people that you can help, the more people that you can support, the more people that you can find referrals to, the more people that see you helping before you start taking off the table, I'm telling you now, they will want to help you as well. Whereas at the minute, what you're doing now, trying to help yourself and nobody else, people can see this and therefore they'll not want to help you. And it took me a while to process it because I got the wrong mindset. But over a course of a few months, I thought, do you know what? They're absolutely right. If I can help as many people as I can, and the group can see me going out my way to help people, then surely they're going to want to help me back. And that's exactly what started to happen. So what I want to do is I want to share with you some tips on how you can help other people in your own circle of influence. So grab a notepad, grab a pen and write these down. These are the 5 things that I started to do, and this is what's going to catapult you further forward when it comes to networking. These 5 things. Number 1 is, instead of me going out wanting everybody to pass me referrals, I actually started listening to what other people wanted. What referrals, what contacts, what doors of opportunity did they want opening? And I started making a note of this, and I started thinking, right, I'm going to help as many of these people in this room as I can to get the referrals or the contacts they want. So I start posting onto LinkedIn. Does anybody know this person? Because I need somebody wants an introduction to him. Then all of a sudden people say, yeah, Craig, I know that person. I can make that introduction for you. Brilliant. I go back to the member in my circle of influence and I say, hey, listen, I've been doing a bit of digging around for you and I've got a contact who's happy to introduce you to that person that you want an introduction to. Really? Yeah. You've gone out your way, Craig, to help me do that. Yeah. So I started looking for referrals and contacts, and if I heard anybody looking for a solicitor or a plumber or whatever they were looking for, I'd actively go out and start to listen for referrals and pass them referrals on. Number 2, introducing them to as many contacts as I got to help them build up their contacts and their database, if you like. So if I heard of someone saying, I need to speak to Joe Bloggs and Joe Bloggs works at this company, I try and somehow get to that person at that company, not for me, but I do it for my fellow member. So I'd be listening out for all of the contacts that people wanted, not just passing them the business, but passing them contacts. Number 3, I started sharing knowledge with them all on anything that I learnt that were new. And what I mean by that is, by this time, I'd started having mentoring from a coach that I met at networking. And when he told me about the 3 books, I went away and started telling everybody else about the 3 books. When I started to learn how to put a business plan together, I started sharing with other people, this is how you put a business plan together. When something started to work with my marketing, I went and shared how my marketing strategy was working with other people. And I started sharing knowledge, and then they were really appreciative of that knowledge. And they would go and put it in their business and it'd start to work, and then they'd come back and they'd thank me. So how can we share maybe some knowledge? Number 4, I got an accountability partner. In fact, I got 2. I got one to hold me accountable for my business, and I got one to hold me accountable for my personal life and my personal goals. And in me getting them on as an accountability partner, I then became their accountability partner. And every 2 weeks, we'd have a phone call and we'd have to share where we were and what we'd done. And we'd give each other a kick up the backside if we'd not done what we said we're going to do. And then we'd pat each other on the back if we did do it. But you didn't want to let the other person down. So I started forging good relationships with accountability partners. And all this started to lead to number 5, which we call reciprocation, right? Reciprocation. And what that means is, if you do a good deed for me, I feel obliged to do something back for you. And that's how reciprocation works. I'm going to do something good for you. I'm going to pass you a lead, a referral, a contact. I'll be your accountability partner, whatever it needed to be. I'm going to share some knowledge with you. When I was doing that to all of my group, all of a sudden, all my group felt as though they had to help me back. So by listening to what I was told about not going into networking all about me, make it about other people, I did. And then lo and behold, over the course of that next month, the referrals started to come. The contacts I needed introducing to started to come. People started sharing knowledge with me. People wanted to have meetings with me. All of a sudden, it snowballed and that reciprocation started to pay off. Now, let me just give you a real-time example of reciprocation. Andy Cam, that I've just mentioned, who's one of my members that were with me from day one and is still with me today, right? Andy Cam came round to my house literally a month ago to do a service on my boiler and my heating system. And I said to Andy at the end, right, how much do I owe you? He's like, don't be daft. I'm like, Andy, he's like, Craig, you've helped me generate over 400 grand's worth of business. You helped me to become, you got me on social media and got me to become a social media influencer. You taught me how to do it. The last thing I'm going to do is charge you for a boiler service. I said, Andy, I'd much rather pay you. He says, Craig, you don't worry about it. And he left our house. He didn't charge me a penny. Another one of my contacts that I've met through networking, through our Facebook group, is a guy called Andrew Mason. And Andrew Mason is a big Leeds United fan, and I'm a Sheffield United fan. And Sheffield United have just played Leeds United. And Andrew contacted me and said, Craig, have you managed to get a ticket for game at Leeds? I says, no. He says, Craig, I've got 2 corporate tickets for you. I said, how much do you want for him, Andrew? He said, I don't want anything for him. Should have been £250 a ticket. He says, you can have them. So what did I do? I thanked Andrew. I rung Andy Cam straight back. Reciprocation. He's just done my boiler service for me. I said, Andy, who's a Sheffield United fan like me, I've got you a corporate ticket. We're going up to Leeds for having corporate hospitality. You fancy it? He's like, amazing. Now, guess what I'm going to do for Andrew Mason? I need to reciprocate that back to Andrew, and now I need to do something for Andrew. The point is, Andy Cam and Andrew Mason, I met networking, yeah? And all these years later, we're still helping and supporting each other out. And reciprocation is there. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you do something good for someone, they're going to want to probably do something good back to you if they've got a growth mindset. So for all these 5 reasons, this is why I'm suggesting that when you go into networking, or maybe you're already networking, these are the 5 things I'm going to suggest you do to get the maximum benefit out of your networking and the time that you're going to invest. Put these 5 things in place, and I guarantee you'll get it back tenfold. Now, hopefully, you're thinking, Craig, all this networking sounds amazing, right? But what networking events can I attend? Well, there are 3 different types of networking events or places to network, let's say that. And in this chapter, I'm going to run through what each one of these 3 are, giving you tips on how each one works. And then you can either say, Craig, I'm going to choose this one or that one, or you might do what we encourage you to do, and that's choose all 3. So, the first type of networking that you can do is what we call online networking. And online networking can be broken down into, let's say, 2 different areas. Area number 1 is through what we call communities or groups. And many of you listening to this will already be in communities and groups. These might be free or they might be paid. Let me explain. Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, as an example, are online groups where you can, as you know, you can go and join a group, and whatever that group is has generally got a theme to whatever the group is. Now, we've got our Trades Freedom Club, free Facebook group and community. And if you're not already a member of that and you want to join us, please click the link in the description and around the show notes and head over and join us. And in these free groups, depending on what the theme of the group is where you bring people of the same interest together, and you've either got a positive group or a negative group. And we've already established there's some terrible, really aggressive, bullying, intimidating Facebook and LinkedIn groups out there. But as you know, the Trades Freedom Club group is a group for professional tradesmen and women that want to network in a safe group, a thriving group where everybody inside that group is there to help and support each other. That is our culture. That is our ethos within the Trades Freedom Club. How can we all help each other? And for many of you, you'll already be doing this. You'll be in groups. You might not be as proactive in some as you are in others, but you'll be in groups and you'll be watching what goes off, and you might be picking up little tips or finding out little snippets of information that's helping you to grow your business. You might even be introduced to other contacts that can help you. And a great example of that is literally this morning, I've been into our Facebook group and we've got Jay Reed asking in the group, he wants introductions to solar roofers in Sheffield. We've also got Terry Matthews asking for referrals into people that do embroidered workwear. We've got Jonathan Birch, who's just shared all of the different ebooks that he's been listening to that's been recommended to him from within the group. And we've got Polly Shaw asking a question all around employees and employee pensions. So this is just a quick example of a type of help and support that are around there in free online groups. Now, this is the basic level of networking, but nevertheless, it's still networking. We're still building them relationships. We're still helping and supporting each other. The other type of online networking is online networking through platforms such as Zoom. So I presume in today's day and age, everybody's familiar with Zoom, where it's online. You can jump onto Zoom through an app or through your desktop anywhere in the world, right? And people all show up on your screen and you can have live conversations and talks and chats to people live on Zoom. Well, we do networking that's structured via Zoom. And these are brilliant sessions, particularly for busy tradesmen or women that are on the tools and want to just jump into some online networking via Zoom from the convenience of their own home or their own office, or even, as you'll see on our online networking through Zoom, we get lots of members joining us and they just literally sat in the van while they're on the job, joining us live on Zoom. And what we do on these Zoom networking meetings, everybody gets a chance to introduce themselves and the business, tell us a little bit about the services, what they offer, and the type of contacts that they want introducing to. And then it's up to us as a community, everybody on that Zoom, to think, right, I know someone who I can introduce you to, or I know someone who's looking for a builder, plumber, plasterer, joiner, roofer, scaffolder. Are you with me? So it's a way in which we build relationships up together. We all have a little say, we all have a little pitch, let's call it that. And then what we do at the end, we say, right, now you've listened to everybody's pitches and everybody knows what each other does, let's pair you up and let's put you two together so you two can have a 10-minute chat. And then you can explore that relationship or that opportunity or that contact that you might want to pass to that person. You can explore that in a little bit more personal detail. So what we do, to recap, you join us on Zoom from anywhere, your van, your office, wherever. You come on, you tell us what you do, the type of work that you're looking for, any particular contacts that you want to meet. We as a group then go, oh, I know someone who can help you. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to put you two together for 10 minutes to have a 10-minute chat. And our online networking, to get round everybody and to give everybody that opportunity, lasts for an hour and a half tops. It's 90 minutes tops. So I'm saying, look, for 90 minutes once a month, jump onto our Zooms and do networking with us and let us and our circle of influence help you. So, option one is you do some form of online networking. Option two is the good old in-person networking, where you're going to go on a set day at a set time to a venue. And these venues, like I started off networking, when I started mine, it were in a gym. It were in a function room in a gym. But networking events can be held in bars, they can be held in restaurants, they can be held in working men's club, like I put my very first one. It was in Davy Sports Club, a backstreet working men's club in Sheffield on a Friday afternoon. They can be in the morning, they can be at lunchtime, they can be in afternoon, they can even be at evening. But it's where you're going to go and meet up with other people that are part of your group. And what you're going to do during that meeting is you're going to explain or stand up and share with everyone a bit about what you do, what's your business. You're then going to get together and have what we call these one-to-ones, where you get put with someone for 10 minutes who think they can help you. It's taking the online structure, but bringing it together and doing it in person. Now, these events can be held weekly, fortnightly, monthly, or quarterly. And every different group's got different times and places and dates where they meet up. I don't mind who you network with. I'm not saying you've got to do it with us. I don't mind who you're doing it with as long as you're doing it. Are you with me? Now, what I will say about our networking events, our in-person events are insane. Because what I've built over the last 12 to 13 years is the UK's largest trades and construction, what we call hybrid networking, coaching and personal development events, which means you invest a full day by coming to us, and there's hundreds and hundreds of tradesmen and women come to our events. You get a ticket, you come for the full day, you spend the full day with us, and in the morning, we do a big networking session with hundreds of us networking together. So we're going to introduce you to hundreds of other tradesmen and women that have all got contacts that you might need. What we then do in the afternoon session is I do a live coaching session where you'll get a workbook or worksheets and we'll work through some form of strategy. That could be to do with your numbers, it could be marketing, it could be systems, it could be business planning, it could be building your team. But I do a coaching session and then we bring in a guest speaker for the end of the day and they share some knowledge. So the reason why we call it a hybrid event is it's networking, coaching and personal development all rolled into one event. And we go to town on these events. We have the big stage, we've got lighting, we've got all the audio team and the visual team. You know, we put a proper big event on for you. And if you were to speak to anyone that's been to any of our live events, they'll tell you how incredible our events are. And you will leave our events pumped up, fired up, motivated. The motivation levels and energy will be through the roof, which is what we all need. But also you'll leave meeting hundreds of new people that are all going to help you open doors of opportunity. So we've got our in-person events as well as our online events. And the third way of networking is what we call in-person social events, social networking. And what we mean by the social networking is forgetting about the business side. Let's do some activities and let's do some, let's say, team bonding type of sessions with our community where we actually get to know you, right? Not your business. We get to know you because people buy from people that they know, like and trust. So if we want to get more people passing you referrals, we've got to get them to like you. And what better way to get to know someone is by doing a social event. And at the Trades Freedom Club and over the years, we've done all sorts of different types of events for everybody that's interested in different things, such as we've booked meals and restaurants and we've gone out for drinks and a night out and a good dance and we've ended up in a club or whatever we've ended up doing. We've done that side of it. We've run Christmas parties where literally 150 of our members turn up to a Christmas party. We've done paintballing. Well, we'll say, right, who's up for paintballing? We're going to meet at this date, at this time, and we're going to have 2 teams, and let's go paintballing. And what a crack, what a laugh that's been. Don't get me wrong, you come covered away black and blue, but what a laugh that is. We've done football tournaments. We've had a five-a-side tournament where we've had members from different parts of the country come together. So we've had a Yorkshire team. We've had a Midlands team. We've had a Southern team or a Northern team, and we've come together for a five-a-side football tournament. I was even fortunate enough through networking and my contacts to get our team from our community to play another team from another community at Bramall Lane. On the Bramall Lane pitch. We had the dressing rooms and everything and a professional ref, and we did it for charity. We've done abseiling, where we've been on the top of a viaduct bridge and abseiled over the top of a viaduct bridge right over the top of a terraining river below us to get people outside the comfort zones. We've done army assault courses, where we've been to like an army assault course and you've got to work as a team to get people from one end to another. And what a great team bonding and building exercise that was. We've done go-karting. We've done family fun days where we say, right, we're going to meet on a Sunday or a Saturday at this place. It could be in the Lake District. It could be, the last one we did was a big lake called Rother Valley. Bring your family. We had barbecues. Are you with me? We do all the social side at the Trades Freedom Club. And for many of our members, they've said, Craig, we love the business networking, but where we've got more value from and where we've built up more relationships is when we did the paintballing or the abseiling or the army assault course, and I got to meet that member that I'd seen in your Facebook group for 2 years but never met him. Now I've met him. Now we're doing business together. We're working with each other. Are you with me? So think about it. At the Trades Freedom Club, we give you the opportunity to network in all three. You can either just stay part of our free Facebook group, you can come on to our online networking, or you can come to our in-person networking and even come to our social events. We give you the opportunity to do all of it because it's so important to the development of you personally and your business. So the next question is, Craig, I'm excited. This all sounds amazing. But what do you actually do at one of these networking events? How do they all come together? Well, each organisation, group or community will have their own, let's say, format of how they run their events. And some groups and organisations are very formal and have a strict agenda and strict structure to how their meetings run. But then you get other networking groups that are a lot more informal, a lot more laid back. They still have some structure. It's not like we get there and we wing it, but they're quite laid back in the way in which they run. Now, I personally have been, and our members are both. But you might go to one and go, that's too structured for me. It's too, there's too much going off. There's too much pressure on me. I just want to go somewhere where it's a bit more laid back. The choice is entirely up to you. What I'm saying is every networking group, community or organisation will have a slightly different twist on how they run their meetings and their events. However, they all usually have the following three elements that are built into it. So if you want to make a note of this, that'd be great. Now, whether that's online or whether that's in person, they generally all start with what we call open networking, which is, let's say you go to an in-person meeting. You'll go, you'll attend, you'll register, you'll tick your name off that you've come, and then there's usually teas or coffees or a bar, depending on where you're having your event. And people will go and get a drink, and then all you'll do is you'll mix and you mingle until the event starts. This is what we call open networking, where you can just go and have a chat to anyone, just start more socialising, have a good natter with people. And then what will happen then, once the open networking's finished, there is some form of structure. And this next form of structure is what in networking terms as called an elevator pitch. And this is basically where you're going to get an opportunity to either stand up, sit down, however you want to do it, whatever their format is, and you're going to talk about your business for a certain period of time. Now, I've been to networking events where you get 40 seconds to talk about your business. I've been to some where you get 60 seconds, 1 minute, and then I've been to some where you get 2 minutes. But either way, you'll be allocated a time slot where you've got X amount of time to talk about your business. And this is what we call an elevator pitch. And the word elevator pitch came from an American networking organization that says, imagine this. Let's call it a lift. We don't call it an elevator, but let's call it a lift. Let's say you're in reception and you get into a lift and your absolute golden nugget of a customer or client steps in that lift with you. And they say to you, what do? Basically, you've got 40 to 60 seconds, let's say, until that lift reaches the level where you're both going to get out, to explain to that person what it is you do, how you can help them, and what the benefits are. And if you can get that done in 40 to 60 seconds, the idea is that you would pique enough interest with that person that stepped into the lift with you for them to say, I'm interested. What do we do next? So that's where this elevator pitch comes from. So we've got a template that we've got at Trades Freedom Club that we're happy to let you all have, that's set out in a way in which you can get all the information that you need to get out to pique interest in that person within 60 seconds or less. And you'll get that opportunity as well. Does everybody else that's at that event, whether it's online or in person, everybody gets a chance to do that elevator pitch. And that's your opportunity to start to listen to see if there's anything that person says that you could help them with. Remember, you're going into networking thinking how you can help as many people as you can before you can help yourself. So I always make notes. And I think, oh, they've mentioned that, I can help them with that. Or they've mentioned that, I can introduce them to them. Or they've mentioned that, and I've got some knowledge that I can share with them that'll help them. Are you with me? Then what happens is, the third parts of the meeting, usually, is once all the elevator pitches are finished, you get a chance to do what we call one-to-ones, which is where you can then go and have a chat one-on-one with a person, again, online or in-person events, based on what they've said in their pitch. So you might get somebody come straight up to you that says, Craig, I've listened to your pitch and I can help you. I'd like to have a one-to-one with you. Brilliant. Or you might go, do you know what? I've just heard Sarah say that she wants introducing to building contractors in Yorkshire. Flipping heck, I've got loads of them. I'm going to have a chat with her because I might be able to introduce her to some. Are you with me? And that's what we call a one-to-one. And it's in those one-to-ones where the relationship starts to be built. Remember, networking is about building relationships. The elevator pitch is just the introduction to the people that are there at that event. But the networking starts by you having those one-to-ones and finding out more about what that person does or what help you can provide to that person. And generally, almost all, not everyone, depending on their format, but almost all networking events have them three elements: open networking, elevator pitches, and one-to-ones. And if you've never been to one and you go to one for the first time, 99.9999% of the time, you will be outside your comfort zone. But that's good. Remember, that's good. we need to be constantly pushing ourselves outside of those comfort zones if we're going to grow and develop ourselves, because we can't build and grow and scale a business until we build and grow and scale ourselves. So it is going to feel uncomfortable. I've never met one person that's been to a networking event that's walked away and said, that were easy. I loved it. That was like water off a duck's back. Usually people go, flipping heck, I'm glad that's done with. But deep down, there's an element of progress because they have stepped outside the comfort zone. They have gone into the fear zone. And the more time you spend in the fear zone and conquer the fear disappears and then it's replaced by growth. You're in the growth zone. So that's how it works. So that's generally what goes into any networking event, in any networking group, anywhere probably on the planet. And that's what goes into our networking events that we run at the Trades Freedom Club. Now, here's a quick tip for you. If you want people to get to know you and to get your brand awareness out there and you want to build as many relationships as you can, the best way of doing that is by being consistent in attending either the online or the in-person. You've got to be consistent. If you're going to go once every 3 months, right, nobody's going to remember you. Nobody's going to get to know you, because how can you get to know, like and trust someone by meeting them for 10 minutes every 3 months? You can't. So my advice is, however many events that organisation or group does, whether it be a weekly event, whether it be fortnightly or monthly or even quarterly at worst case scenario, you've got to go. You've got to attend these events because that's how the relationships are built up. Let me give you an example. I'm a joiner by trade, right? So let's say I've got shitloads of work to pass to a joiner and I'm coming to Trades Freedom Club or another networking group, and there's 2 joiners I meet on day 1. And they both sound brilliant. And I know deep down that I could pass these loads and loads of work on. But I don't, because I've only just met them. I don't know them yet, I don't like them yet, and I don't trust them yet. But they're on my radar. So the following month or the following fortnight, I go back to that event and one of the joiners turns up. And again, I get to know him a bit more and I get to like him a bit more, but I still don't trust him yet. But the other one doesn't turn up. And then let's say 2 weeks later, I go back to the same event and that same joiner is there again and the other one's not turned up. Who am I more likely to pass and give all that business of mine to? The joiner that's been turning up and being proactive and maybe trying to help me, and the one that I'm building a relationship up, and the one that looks reliable because he's turning up at these events? Am I going to give all my business to them, or am I going to give it to the one that doesn't seem that reliable because they're hit and miss and sometimes they turn up and sometimes they don't, and I ain't got to know enough about that person and enough about their business? Who am I going to give the business up to? Of course, I'm going to give it to the one that I've built the relationship with. And the only way in which you can build relationships with people is if you're there, if you turn up. So my advice to you is this. However many networking sessions or events that particular organisation puts on, whether it's online or in person or both, go to them all. Go to them all. Because think about this. I appreciate it takes some time, right? If you're going to do the online networking with us, you can sit in your van and it's done within 90 minutes. It's done and we do it once a month, right? It's done. You're not telling me that you can't afford to invest 1.5 hours in an entire month into building your own business. Of course you can. The in-person events you might go to and it might take you 3 hours because you've got to travel there, do the event and travel back. But again, if you are like me, a building contractor, and you get introduced to a architect like we did, and that architect passes you millions of pounds worth of business over the next couple of years, Are you really going to say that your time wasn't worth investing on going down for that 3-hour event every couple of weeks? Of course it were. It's the long-term picture. These aren't quick wins we're looking for. It's the long-term sustainability of our business. You will pick up the business. It will pay for itself 10 times over. Let me use this in another context. I have absolutely no idea who's listening to this podcast. I know there's thousands of people every week listen to it because our analytics tells us that. But I don't know specifically who's listening to this. What I do know is the majority of you will be in our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community, and you'll be in there. Now, you may be a proactive member of that group, or you might be one that sits on the sidelines just watching what's happened, and you like being in it and you're picking up tips and advice, and that's fine. But if I just name drop a few people to you, and I'm just going to come out with some people that I know are proactive members in our community. And these people I'm just going to name drop now. I don't know who they are yet. I'm just going to randomly come out with some. I'm trying to think on my feet now. These people that I'm going to mention now, you might well have never have met them before. But if you're in our Facebook community, I bet you've seen them posting. I bet you know what they do. I bet when I mentioned some names now, you know I've seen them and I know them. I see them all the time. And that's because they're proactive, which is just like what I've said. If there's an event on, you go to it. Remember, we've said that one way of networking is through online groups and communities, whether that be Facebook or maybe LinkedIn. We've already established that's the introduction to networking. That's how you easily get involved with it. So let me rattle off a few names, and if you're proactive in our community, I'm hazarding a guess that you've spotted these people. Why? Because they're showing up every day, every other day. They're in our Facebook group. They're getting their brand awareness out there. They're building up relationships with people. They're benefiting from our community. Are you ready? Emily Malander, Steve Thompson, Michael Russell, Crisium Brains, Andrew Bell, George Powell, Lee Moss, James McAvoy, Terry Matthews. I could go on and on. I've just mentioned an handful of people, and I'm guessing that you've seen them inside our group. And that's because they turn up every day or every other day. They're being proactive in that group, not necessarily trying to help themselves, but to try and help others. They understand what networking's all about, and they're there now, putting themselves out there, helping and supporting other members of our community. And again, a reminder, if you're not already part of our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community, click the link in the description and come over and join us. Now, there are many misconceptions about networking events. And I know this because every one of these that I'm going to rattle off to you now, I've used myself as an excuse when I were in my early days of networking, right? Networking works. 100% it works, but it only works if you are consistent with it. It's like your social media posting. How on earth are you supposed to generate leads from social media if you're not present on it and you post once every week or once every couple of weeks? You're not. But if you're proactive on social media and you're posting every day on your different platforms and you're mixing it up with the right content, like doing videos as an example, or maybe Facebook Lives as another example, if you're in and out of people's groups, and if you're investing that time into social media and you're consistent with it, it bears results. It's the same with networking. Now, I've met so many people over this last 15 years that have gone, Craig, it's crap, I've tried it, it don't work. And I'm like, oh, really? So the misconception of networking. Let me just read a few out, because again, I've used all these excuses and I've heard everybody else use these excuses. But I know, having built the UK's largest trades and construction networking group, organisation, community, whatever you want to call it, in person and online, I know that this works. We wouldn't have generated £120 million worth of business for our members. There won't be hundreds of people travel from all over UK, as far north as Aberdeen and as far south as Southampton, to come to our events if they didn't bear fruit. So these are the misconceptions. Number one, I've tried networking and it feels uncomfortable. I don't like it. We've already established it's going to feel uncomfortable. You know, people aren't confident of being around groups of people. Never mind maybe having to stand up and deliver a pitch. I mean, that takes some balls to do. But remember what I've said. By you doing that, everything becomes more confident. And when you become more confident, it's not only going to benefit you at networking events. The confidence that I gained from networking and pushing myself outside them comfort zones and boundaries helped me to become more confident when I'm speaking to customers, and maybe a little bit more assertive, and maybe more confident in saying no to people rather than just nodding my head and agreeing to everything that customers want me to do. It also helped me become more confident with my team. And as you know, when you've got a building company like me and you're dealing with lots of different personalities, some of them can be quite aggressive towards you, right? I didn't stand for any of that shit anymore, right? I dealt with it because I was confident in dealing with it. It's helped me in my personal life on how I communicate with my wife and my kids and my family. I'm just such a more confident person. So yes, networking is going to make you feel uncomfortable, but that's the whole point of it. Next one. I don't like the strict format that one particular event they've been to, perhaps. They've been to one networking event and it's been quite one of them formatted and strict events. Right, okay. You've been to one that doesn't suit your style. Right, go and find one that does. There's loads of laid back, more informal events out there. The next one. I went 3 times, Craig, and I didn't get any work. I didn't get this avalanche of referrals coming in. Well, you're not going to if you only go to 3 events, because how on earth are people supposed to get to know, like and trust you when you just go to 3 events? Remember what I've just said, you've got to be consistent. And for people to get to build that trust with you, they've got to build a relationship with you. So you're not going to get an avalanche of leads attending 3 events. Go back and attend 4, 5, 6, 7, then you'll start to get leads. Craig, I had a bad experience at my last one. This happened or that one. Right. Stop letting your limiting beliefs then around that one experience affect your judgment on networking. Something didn't work, something made you feel uncomfortable, somebody said something or did something and it put you off. Right, fucking move on to the next one. Go and find another event. Stop letting limiting beliefs hold you in your own business back. I've heard this one. Craig, I'm not a people person. Do you know, I'm quite an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. You know, I listen to you and you sound like full of energy, full of life. You know, you're confident. Listen, I didn't used to be. This is not how I used to be. I used to be an introvert. I weren't confident. I got a closed, fixed mindset. I was negative. You can't have I've done a 360 degrees turn, but I did it by stepping outside my comfort zone. What about this one that I used to use? I don't like mixing with suits. That's what I used to call them, suits. You know, these flipping solicitors and lawyers and all these high flyers. You know, that's not my game, that. I'm in a different, complete world to them. But when you get to know them, they're just a normal person like you. They just wear a different uniform to you and talk about a different service to you. They're still normal people underneath it all. Craig, I'm busy. I don't get time. Right. There's 168 hours in a week, right? Make time. You have got time. You're just not prioritising it because you're wasting time on other things that aren't benefiting you, like answering phone, like dealing with your own emails and all these low-value tasks. Right, outsource all that lot. Save yourself 8 hours a week. Now you can go to networking, can't you? Because we've freed up the time. So time's not an excuse. Craig, I've been to networking events, but I didn't get a great deal out of it because there weren't many trades there. Now, this is where the Trades Freedom Club comes into its own. Because networking with suits, there are benefits to that because you're going to need a legal person to put your T's and C's together. You're going to need an accountant to make sure they can improve your profits and save you from overpaying on taxes. You're going to benefit from that. But when you network with people from your own industry, it is so much easier to generate leads and pass referrals and help and support each other because we're dancing in them circles every single day, aren't we? We're dancing in them circles. So if you've tried networking and feel as though they're not the right people there to network with, either find a local trades only or property group and go network with them. You'll get more success. Or at some point, consider and come in networking with us, and then we'll help you to get what you want to get out of networking. But underneath all that, we cannot have this misconception or limiting beliefs that we can't go networking. Seriously, networking transformed my entire life. I started off at the beginning of this episode by sharing that with you. And I've been in the fortunate position to allow thousands of other trades to change their lives as well by introducing them to what I've been sharing with you on this episode. Now, at the beginning of this episode, I said if you stay till the end, I'm going to give you a personal invitation, and I am. Because everything that I've just covered in this podcast, you can get access to all of this through the Trades Freedom Club. By all means, go and try other networking groups and communities. And I want you to, because you can never have too many contacts. The more different types of networking organisations you can belong to and be part of, it's only going to benefit you. But if you're thinking, Craig, where can I start where no one's going to judge me, everybody's from the same industry as me, and I want to get results as quick as I can, just consider belonging and being part of the Trades Freedom Club. I've already alluded to that we've got a free Facebook group and community that you're more than welcome to join. Click the link in the description if you want to join our Facebook group. Come on in, and even if you just sit there on the sidelines just watching what goes off and that benefits and helps you, then brilliant. In fact, there's a post that's just been put into our group recently over the last few days from Andrew Trigg from Prime Property. And this is how networking works. I've never met Andrew in my life before. I've seen him in our Facebook group posting, but it's this post that really took me back. And he put in there that this time last year, he were close to throwing in the towel on his business. He'd had enough. He got challenges with customers and cash flow. Everything were going to shit for him, in his own words. But he's been inside our Facebook group. He's been listening to all these podcast episodes. And within the last 12 months, he's completely turned his business around. To a point where he's now got automated brochures being sent out. He's sorted out his vetting forms and his quoting process. He's sending his quotes out. They look more professional. He's changed the way in which he's pricing. He's just won another 14 grand's worth of work. He's got 20 grand's worth of work in his pipeline. He's saying that it's completely changed his business and his entire life just from being in our Facebook group, which is free, and listening to this free podcast. And when people say to me, Craig, why do you do it? Why do you do that free group and put all that time and effort into it? Why do you do this podcast that costs you a fortune to produce and production around it, and you do it every week? Why? Why? Because I do it because I want to give back. I have a saying, we have two hands for helping. We've got two hands. One's for helping ourselves, one's for helping others. And the more people I can help not make the same classic mistakes that I've made over the years, and Andrew can deliver results like he's delivered from getting off his backside and taking action, or from a free Facebook group and a podcast, if I've helped to make a massive difference in Andrew and Andrew's family's life, then that's what it's all about. This is what I'm talking about being part of a circle of influence that wants to help lift you higher. So we've got our Facebook group. Number 2, we've got our monthly online networking meetings via Zoom. They last for around 90 minutes. You book on, you register, you get an email and a text message with a link to click 15 minutes before we start the actual networking session. You click the link, it brings you into Zoom, and then that's it, you're in. And all the dates of the next 3 months, 90 days of online events are being added to our brand new events calendar inside our brand new platform to make it easy for you to book on. We've also got our in-person hybrid networking, coaching and motivational events. And this is that full day event where people travel from all over the UK to come to. Now, currently, we're running these every quarter, every 3 months. We used to run them every month and everyone sold out. But then lockdown kicked in, and obviously that put a stop to them monthly events. We've brought them back. They're every quarter. And again, if you want to come to that full day event, all you need to do is go to our events calendar and all the dates are laid out for you. And then on top of that, there are social events that Emily normally organises, whether that's the paintballing, the football tournaments, the abseiling, the army assault course, the go-karting. You know, at the end of this month, at the time of recording this, me and some of my Inner Circle members, we're going to Manchester and we're doing the Cube. You know that programme on telly, that Cube, where you've got to work as a team to achieve things. Then we're staying overnight in Manchester and having a night in Manchester. Again, all these dates are on our brand new events calendar, and I would love you to get more involved with us at the Trades Freedom Club so we can help and support you on your journey as you're helping and supporting me on my journey. So, I'm setting you 3 action tasks that I want you to go away from this episode and do. This is your homework, okay? Number 1, book on to a networking event. Doesn't have to be ours, right? I don't mind where you do it, what part of the country you're in, online, in person. Make it your commitment that within the next 30 days that you've taken action and you've booked onto maybe a local networking event and go and get your teeth stuck into it, right? Number 2, you're going to have to create a 60-second elevator pitch of what you're going to say when you go to this event. And if you're already networking and you go to organisations where you're already doing this, create another one. Don't say the same pitch every time you go because it becomes boring and then eventually it lands on deaf ears. So if you've never been before, think about what you're going to say, write it down. And what I would do is don't make the mistake I made. Try and memorise it, because I tried to memorise mine and then I stood up and my heart were pounding and I'm going bright red and I just lost train of thought and I couldn't remember what I was going to say. I'd much rather you write it down or put it in your phone on your notes. And even if you've got to stand there with your notes in front of you, read it word for word from your notes. At least that way you're going to get all the points across that you want to get across and you're not going to do what I do or did, which is get my name and my company name out, get first sentence out, and then I bottled it, forgot it, and then it's like, damn, I've wasted that opportunity now, and then I'm pissed off with myself all day for winging it. Write it down and read it word for word if need be. If you're already attending networking, come up with another pitch so you're mixing it up. The third action task is I want you to organise a one-to-one. So remember, this is where you're going to have a chat with somebody on a one-to-one basis, just like a meeting, just like a chat if you're going for a pint or whatever you're doing socialising. It's just a chat to find out more about each other's businesses and how you can help each other. Now, what I would say with this is go into our Facebook group and find someone that you see posting that you see might be maybe a step or two ahead of you in terms of personal development or networking or business. Drop them a direct message and say, look, I've listened to Craig's podcast on networking. Can we have a one-to-one? And it doesn't matter if the opposite end of country, because you can just do it on Zoom. You can just say, look, let's jump onto Zoom for half an hour, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. I'll have my tea, I'll put kids to bed, we'll jump onto Zoom, 15 minutes you talking about your business, 15 me talking about mine, and let's see how we can help and support each other. So get your first one-to-one booked in. And finally, please remember to add yourself to our priority waiting list that's going to give you access to all of this networking plus loads of coaching and mentoring and accountability by clicking on our priority waiting list link that's in the description to this episode. And remember, it's not what you know, it's who you know in business that opens doors of opportunity. Catch up with you on next week's episode, and I'll meet you at the top. Thank you.